And we're back. Welcome back to Mr.Flamingo Reviews. Woo! Where today I will be reviewing Obi-Wan Kenobi. Originally envisioned as a theatrical movie, Obi-Wan Kenobi was a victim of everybody's boycotting of Solo, a Star Wars story. What resulted was reworking Kenobi into a limited series for
Disney.
A limited series on Disney Plus. But in returning as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor stars in this show. The whole point of this show is it's been 10 years since the end of the prequels. Obi-Wan is not the same man he once was, but he has his call to action when Senator Bail Organa tells him, hey, Leia's been taken. We need you. What follows is adventure out into the seedier parts of space where Kenobi sees the effects the Empire has had, and he has to find his will again.
Outside of the hut space.
Outside of hut space. He's seeing Mapuzo, where he sees this ravaged field. He's quoted as saying that this used to be filled with families and fields, and now it's just a mining planet. He's venturing around. He's trying to become that man again. He's got to be that guy. Now, I found myself rewatching this show recently, and what I discovered was I did in fact like it more than I had the first time I seen it. While the writing is sometimes a bit questionable, and there's just these interesting moments, what Ewan McGregor brings forward is a wonderful performance as a broken down Obi-Wan Kenobi. He thinks the fight is over. He thinks that there's just no will anymore, that it's time to just stay in hiding. But over the course, we get to see him become the man he once was and find his drive once again. Special shout out, I really appreciated episode 5. While it was on the nose, episode 5 is centered with bits and pieces of a flashback to Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker training as Obi-Wan is trying to hold down and defend the path from a siege by Darth Vader. What I liked about episode 5 in specific was the fact that Obi-Wan is pacing out his attempt to hold off Darth Vader by just knowing the way that Anakin is. In his heart of hearts, he knows the kind of person that Anakin is. Doesn't matter what he looks like now. Doesn't matter that he's a Sith Lord. This is an example of Obi-Wan being aware. Still being able to map out his Padawan's every move through sheer just knowing him. And I appreciated that. I thought that was great.
Anakin. Anakin's gone. I am what remains.
Well, you see, another part that I appreciated is the fact that Hayden Christensen returns as Darth Vader. But this time, when you see Darth Vader, by the time you see him in the originals, you see him as just this machine, Vader. When you saw him in the prequels, it was Anakin. This nice bridge of a story, one of the highlights is you see this Darth Vader, but you know that underneath that is that Anakin Skywalker from the prequels. What they managed to do with that character is I found pretty respectable because you could see him outside of course, when Obi-Wan breaks his mask. You could see the fact that that used to be Anakin Skywalker. That is just Anakin inside this machine of a, being. It's not full Darth Vader from the originals where he's just this lackey, he's this brute enforcer, and it's not Anakin as he was. It is that nice middle ground that I think was a really enjoyable piece. Controversially, though, Obi-Wan features this B story of a Inquisitor, the third sister Reva. Now, when this show was coming out, everybody had their mixed opinions on it, but what it does is at least I found it to be complementary to what this story was. The idea that the past does not hold us, that we are not defined by what happened, that we can charge a new future. Reva's story is supposed to be complementary. She is no Darth Vader. She does not have to be evil, given her circumstances. She can change. And in the end, she offers the chance for Obi-Wan to be master one more time, as their bit ends with him offering her words of wisdom. I found that to be a decent enough characterization, and if the B story had to happen, I think it happened in an effective way. I found overall, the good outweighs any of the bad, because this was overall an enjoyable story. I guess, if nothing else, if you jumped into this without teeing yourself up, maybe you'd find more flaws, but I had been on this recent journey through watching all the prequel stories, so I got to watch Obi-Wan Kenobi's growth, so this just felt like a natural progression versus if you hadn't seen the prequels in a while. You threw yourself in there, and what you got in return was this story where it was like, well, some of this is kind of weird, but for what it was for me, I thought, well, this is just natural. This feels like if the prequels had a grimmer sense of humor and overall darker tone. I appreciated this for what it was. I will argue that if you just really can't look past some of this stuff, you might not have a good time. But I like the fact that this exists, and I think for an Obi-Wan spinoff, it's better that this exists than it would be if it didn't. I'm happy that this is a thing. Thank you.